Welcome, Eikomo mai, aloha, delighted to have you here. I wanted to give you a little introduction to myself and to this channel. A Reiki master teacher of about 19 years, I've been practicing for about 20. I'm also a Kundalini Kriya Yoga practitioner and instructor, as well as a meditation coach. I'm a spiritual and life guide. I lead sacred journeys in various places, power places around the world. I am a lover of nature, incredibly passionate about the natural ability of our body and our soul to transform. I love the sacred mysteries of alchemizing our path, our challenging, the powerful ways that we can transform those obstacles, those traumas, those challenges on our path and turn them into blessings, into gifts, into unimaginable openings in us and in our lives. So this channel is a platform to bring those teachings, to bring those offerings to you in a way that is most nourishing and supportive, an opportunity for you to learn more about Reiki if you're already trained in Reiki, to have some deeper aspects to that practice. I was blessed to visit the origins of Usui Reiki, to pilgrimage to Mount Kurama, Kyoto, Japan, and to infuse those teachings of the original Usui Reiki into my offering. I also was trained in Western Reiki and esoteric elements of Reiki. I have my own awareness and understanding of Reiki birthed from my experiences, and I infuse those into my offerings. And I look forward to sharing with you the healing quality of nature that is very much one and the same as Reiki, because Reiki was birthed out of a great nature experience and a great meditation. And so this channel is gifts that I've garnished over the years and the many offerings that I've shared with clients over the years that now I am really excited and impassioned to share with you in this venue. So as you can see already, I have several offerings in Reiki in the videos below. I also have some Kundalini Yoga. I will be bringing more. I have over, I believe, about 40 podcast videos, and all of those podcasts, so I highly encourage you to listen to those. All of those podcasts have a healing session or a guided visualization or a guided meditation towards the end of the podcast. They're incredibly nourishing. A lot of them are recorded on various sites, PowerPoints in California, in Japan, in Hawaii, and in Ireland as well. And I will be sharing more about my journey to Egypt that I took this past October. I will be sharing also about my journey to France, where we took a Magdalene pilgrimage, and my photos and journey from Crete, and share a little bit of insight into that journey. I look forward to offering a lot more guided healing sessions, incorporating the incredible healing power of nature, as well as the healing field of Reiki. I will be uploading more coaching tutorials on self-care practices and spiritual conversations, as well as elements of nature practices. And I would love to hear from you. What would you like for me to share with you? What kind of videos would you like? What kind of shorts would you like? So please comment below and subscribe if you haven't already. Like and ding that bell so that you get notices for my upcoming videos. So as part of that, I wanted to give you a little window into what is Sacred Ventures and how it all came about. So hope that you enjoy the next part of this video. I was in my 30s when I was working in substance abuse prevention as well as conflict resolution, peer mediation. I developed quite a few programs in the schools, the middle schools, and some of the elementary schools and high school in Los Angeles. And I approached a period in my life where I really felt that there was a change coming and that something needed to shift. I had been in this field for about 5 years. I loved, very much reflected my passion from my childhood of coming and being born into war and surviving war and transforming that, offering conflict resolution, offering substance abuse prevention programs was something that I was really, really passionate about, and I felt quite fulfilled. And at the 50-year mark, it felt like my soul was shaking up and a waking up and a redirecting of my path. When I had been thinking that I was going to be going into the marriage and family therapy track, and I was already in school, and I was feeling that that was what I was supposed to be doing. And as I was in class and the instructor was talking, I realized I really cannot sit in a room with one person every hour, listening to people's challenges. It just didn't feel right, because at the time I was also being so sourced by nature. I had been in my own personal healing journey. I had been in therapy, intense therapy, for 10 years. And I felt that it was something that I wanted to give back to. But I also knew that the outdoors, that nature, that goddess spirituality was very much at my core as well. And I wanted to spend a lot more time in nature, and I felt really called that I needed to experience more of that, and also that I felt called to travel to some of the original goddess civilizations in the world and pilgrimage, as I was feeling my soul calling me deeper into parts of myself and parts of my spirituality. So as things go, when you're going through a wake-up call and when you go through a bit of a dark night of a soul, all things began to crumble, and my financial challenges were accumulating. I had been working for a nonprofit for 5 years. Obviously, as you probably all know, that's very minimal income. And I had been kind of raised in the 12-step program. It was one of those gifts that came into my life that really helped me in my 20s, really helped me transform some patterns and behaviors of self-loathing, of self-destruction, of really internalized emotions. And as I was going through my 30s and really feeling a call to change my career path that I had been on and had gone to school for, decided to leave, I really knew that I wanted to work for myself. So the 12-step program that the universe brought into my life around that time, that I was slightly resistant of, was a money program that really helped self-employed individuals that were struggling with low income and under-earning. I remember in one of those workshops sitting there and listening to this woman and man that actually had been a part of writing The Artist Way. This 12-step program had helped them create that book and all that came out of it. And that blew my mind. And the woman shared about how she had grown up with credit cards, had gotten herself into major debt, and how she now has no credit debt, no debt at all, and she pays cash to travel around the world. And when I heard that, I knew that that was something that was for me. So as things would go, I kind of started a little bit with that, and then my life kind of went into a bit of a whirlwind. I was at my job in this nonprofit, and I was talking with my colleague. We had just actually gone on a walk, and we were sharing with each other if we could do anything in our lives and in the world, what would that be? And she shared that she would love to open up a shop near beach town, and that was something that she'd always wanted to do. And she asked me, well, what would you like to do? I would love to travel, and I would love to travel around the world and to power places around the world. And right now, I particularly would love to take a pilgrimage to Crete, which is the origins of the Neolithic civilization. One of the earliest goddess civilization archaeological sites is there, and that would be kind of a dream come true. So then we get back to the office and we both sit down in our desks, and on our desk is this flyer for the Oracle Foundation, who is offering scholarships for individuals in our profession to take pilgrimages anywhere in the world that they feel called. And we booked up from this flyer and looked at each other, and our jaws literally dropped. And so obviously the universe was talking to me. And a few weeks after that, I had been speaking to my spiritual coach and therapist at the time, and she asked me, when are you going to leave your job? And I was like, I don't know. I was so terrified. And then I thought, I don't know if I can really do it. And we kind of spoke a little bit about it. And then flash forward 1 week later, I'm at the office. My boss calls me in and she says to me, are you leaving us? My jaw dropped again. And I said, yes, I'll be leaving in October 1st, which was like a month away. And I could not believe the words that were coming out of my mouth. So that's really how our soul works and how the universe works. When we're really meant to align in a certain way, all the synchronicities come together and the impetus pushes us forward. And so I leapt out into the nothingness. I sold all of my belongings except for my truck. I moved into a friend's room. She so generously opened up her home for me, and I went on a sabbatical. I worked part-time, odd jobs, temp work, which I was terrible at. And I moved to Orange County, and I dove into all that was being offered in that area. And that is when I was first introduced to Reiki. Well, I take that back. I was actually first introduced to Reiki a few months back or a year before, where I was exploring and kind of wondering, if I were to leave this career, what would be my direction? And I was flipping through a magazine, and in that magazine, it was a kind of a holistic magazine about all kinds of different types of profession. There was this little ad for Reiki, and it was a woman who was in my field of work, but she worked with incarcerated youth. She had a little ad for her services and kind of a little description, and she had a phone number. So I called her, and we organized an appointment, and I interviewed her, and she shared with me that she had been using Reiki in her groups with these incarcerated youth, and that the results were phenomenally greater in a positive direction than traditional talk therapy. And that she had also shared some Reiki with some individuals one-on-one, and they also had a lot more positive effects as a result. And it obviously took my great interest, and at the time I had no idea what the word Reiki even meant. Even as I was speaking to her, I had no real understanding of what it was, but the seed was planted. Flash forward, I'm on my sabbatical, I'm living in Orange County. I go to a Unity church. They have all these wonderful offerings, and they have this Reiki circle. And I felt called and thought, well, let me go try it. I don't even know what a Reiki circle is. We're sitting there, we're kind of in a semi-type circle. They talk a little bit about what Reiki is. And then they come around to demonstrate, as there has some sweet little meditation music, and they demonstrate and they place their hands above our head. And when the woman did that for me, I felt such a surge and I experienced such a tremendous light that was really unexpected and truly profound. So obviously my interest was piqued even more. And many of us who are in the Reiki profession or have learned Reiki or utilize Reiki just for self-care have all stories that really testify to the truth that Reiki finds us. I was, again, serendipitously, things were kind of flowing and I was guided to, I was very into yoga, started in Hatha yoga, had been steeped in Iyengar yoga that a teacher of mine had taught me for many years. She's actually the woman who introduced me to the Goddess Civilization and to Mariah Gambudis's book, The Goddess Civilization. She was the one who actually planted the seed to go to Crete because she had been to Crete, and we had had a lot of beautiful conversations, knowing that we had known each other in past lives and really feeling like I had to go, that it was just something I didn't really fully know, but something that I had to do. As I was exploring different avenues, I was taking a yoga class, and at that yoga studio they mentioned that there was a new studio opening up and that they were offering this type of yoga called Kundalini yoga, and I'd never heard it before. So I went to this studio. They were offering 1 week for $20, and you could try all these different offerings, all these really kind of new type things, and I felt called to it. So I went and I did my first Kundalini yoga class. The sweetest teacher, I love her so much. She led us through this class. Was the weirdest class I had ever been to. We did the weirdest things, but at the end of the class I felt so different and I felt so shifted that I was hooked. And so I continued to take classes with her. So as I was taking classes with her, I was also preparing to travel to Crete. And as I was preparing to travel to Crete, I had a wonderful friend, Corey, if you're watching this, eternally grateful for our times together. We would get together and kind of vision, and we created vision boards, and we'd vision what we wanted in our lives, what we wanted to create in our lives. And I began to kind of seed that what I would love to do is, I was hiking a lot and spending a lot of time in nature. And as I shared earlier, nature was the main agent of healing for me. And I really felt like it was connected to my past lives in goddess cultures. I really felt that we lived in a time more harmoniously and interconnected with nature. And I really felt inspired to bring people to some of these beautiful places that I had been exploring and experiencing in the Santa Monica Mountains, and also in some of the mountains in Laguna Beach as well. So we planted the seed together of my leading outdoor journeys, outdoor day retreats, and I came up with the name for that offering that would be kind of the company of my offerings, and that was Sacred Ventures. So that's when Sacred Ventures was seeded, and it really had a life of its own. Then I began to kind of offer it professionally, and friends and family were some of my first clients, and then it began to grow and it rippled out. And then as things kind of came together, I had the opportunity. I went to Crete. And Crete is in Greece, for those of you that do not know. And I went for 3 weeks. It was in June. I had been funded a partial scholarship for that. It was the scariest experience for me and the most exhilarating experience. At the time, there was the Gulf War going on, but I felt that despite that, I had to go anyway. And the journey was transformative. When I went to some of those archaeological sites of the ancient goddess temples, I felt a complete regression occur. I had a visceral experience of my time there, which was very similar to the experience that I had when I was recently in Egypt this past October, and had that visceral experience when I was in the Isis temple. The journey was incredibly impactful and beautiful. I felt a whole part of me that had been fearful of leaping out and stepping out into what I felt was my calling just begin to kind of lose its grip. And I felt that I was destined to lead people on journeys. I felt that I was destined to offer some kind of service that would support people in their healing path. And I felt that I was destined to also counsel people, but not in the traditional way. So I came back to the United States, and I was again trying temp work and odd and end jobs and trying to make things work, and my time was running out at my friends. I had to move and find my own place, and on and on and on. And then again, the synchronicities came together, and the universe brought me back to Los Angeles, and I landed right at the top of the hill of Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. And some of you might know that center. It was thriving at the time in the 90s and in the early 2000s. And that was a wonderful community that had a healing center that was emerging, and they had all these various communities that you can get involved in, and one of them was for wellness and health and alternative practices. And I felt called to be involved, and then I got hired as a receptionist at this healing center in Agape, and that is when I had my first Reiki full session. And the practitioner that did that for me planted a seed and told me, "You are intended to learn this." And I said, "I feel that I am, but it's not quite time," because my spiritual teacher and therapist at the time, who had been doing these vision quests for years here in Hawaii with her spiritual teacher, was bringing all of her clients with her. And though I was a little resistant and felt like I'd just come back from Crete, again, the universe was kind of planting the seed and saying, go ahead and just do it. And so I decided to just take the leap, and we were flying over to Molokai. I went on our vision quest. That was a transformative experience, a little over a week of being prepared to quest like the indigenous have all around the world, fasting and being in nature on your own. Ours was about 36 hours. That was the time that I really viscerally experienced the feminine face of God. Having been raised in a traditional setting, a male dominant culture in the Middle East, I had a sense, as I had been called through my exploration of goddess spirituality, that there was a time on this planet where we really saw that God was as much feminine as it was masculine. I mean, ultimately, no gender. And on my vision quest in Molokai, in the middle of the night, I had a profound embodiment and experience of that reality. And so from that experience, the wave continued to grow, and I then felt more empowered as I came into the knowing that the universe is feminine as much as it is masculine, and I have that power within me to create my reality just as much as any man has the power to create his reality. And so through that experience, for me, it was really a pivotal experience in breaking through so many belief systems that had been limiting me. And when I got back, I knew that my desire to grow my own practice and to be self-sustaining through that practice and to have offerings that were not just what I was learning in this life, but offerings from all that I'd learned in all my lifetimes that were coming together in this life. When I got back from Molokai, I took the Reiki training. It was like everything that I felt since I was a child was affirmed. And what's really kind of trippy is that I come back from Crete and was in that phase of not knowing what I was going to be doing, and I was using some of my old coping mechanisms and chocolate and all that good stuff, and I had a dream, and in that dream there was this Asian man that came into my dream so strong, into my face, and he told me straight out, stop the sugar. And I woke from that dream and I was like, what? That was like, whoa. But I had no idea why it was this Asian man, and then I was guided through to start letting go of the sugar. And then I was taking the training, the Reiki training, and when I opened up the manual to my Reiki training, one of the pictures of the founders of the Reiki system that I was learning, which was the Usui Reiki system, was the exact face of the man that was in my dream. And I was blown. And that's when I learned about Mikao Usui. I found Mikao Usui so relatable. My teacher had shared with me that he had been a journalist, a writer, he had done all kinds of different things, that he also studied divination and psychology, and went through kind of a dark night of the soul, an identity crisis, a financial crisis, and I'm like, holy Toledo, I relate to that. And that element where he had a profound spiritual experience on the top of the mountain, which is what I experienced when I was up on Molokai, and that as a consequence of that, he also experienced a profound capacity to self-heal, that then he developed to teach others how to self-heal and heal others. And as I was learning the system of Reiki, I was so reunited with that part of myself that had been a healer since I was a child. So when I was trained in Reiki and when I was attuned, it opened up such a pathway for myself to reunite with me and for me to have an avenue to share what was authentically me and what I authentically knew was truth, which is that we all have the power to heal ourselves and that we all have the capacity to activate healing for other people. And so flash forward 20 years later, I've been teaching Reiki, as I shared earlier, for 19 years and offering it for 20 years. I practice Reiki on myself daily, and it goes with me wherever I go, whatever I do, whether I'm leading retreats, whether I'm coaching, whether I'm with family, whether I'm doing Kundalini yoga, whether I'm in nature. It's just a part of my very being. I've always felt like, gosh, I feel like there's something else that I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like my offerings are supposed to be a little different, or there's something more. And so over the years, something more has continuously emerged. But Reiki has always stayed and continues to be the umbrella for all that I am and all that I offer. My path went from offering Reiki to then the universe was taking me into taking other courses, and the universe guided me into taking Kundalini Yoga teacher's training. It wasn't something I was ever thinking of doing, and I had been practicing Kundalini Yoga since I learned it in 2002, at the same time that Reiki came into my life. And so I'd been doing Reiki and Kundalini Yoga personally for 9 years, and then I'd been offering Reiki professionally. And then when I took the Kundalini Yoga teacher's training, my intention was just for personal enrichment, but the universe had other plans. I began to teach and offer it. It was so beneficial to my clients, such a wonderful complement to Reiki. I find Reiki and Kundalini Yoga such a powerful, powerful combo. I have a couple of podcasts on Kundalini Yoga and Reiki, and I will be doing more videos on that in the upcoming months. So that really flourished my offerings. It also really flourished my life, and that's where I really began to guide people on journeys. And we ended up going to Japan and to the origins of Reiki. We ended up going to Ireland, and we continue to take our retreats and journeys here on Maui. And my love for this work just continued to grow and expand. And then lockdown happened, and all of our lives were turned upside down so that they could be turned right side up. And one of the greatest gifts for me with lockdown was that my work was able to go more online, and I was beginning to share my Reiki teachings online, which was unheard of, but now is much more common. It was such a testament to the reality that Reiki is in all of us, and there is no space and time, and wherever we are, we can experience it. And then the universe would have it, I really had to go inward and ask myself, was I in alignment with myself? And I knew that this long, deep passion to come home to Hawaii, particularly to Maui, was now. And so in 2021, was so grateful that the doors opened. We moved to Maui, and so grateful to be here. And so as I create videos, new videos, and as I create new offerings, and particularly healing sessions, I hope to infuse some of the beautiful gifts that are on this island. As all of the planet is going through challenges, so is Hawaii, so is Maui. There are challenges everywhere. And yet despite that, if we can really see the incredible power of Mother Nature that is here for us, carrying us through these challenges, it really is profound. And I look forward to sharing that with you in the days to come.